There you go.
I edited that later.
Oh, I kind of don't edit it a lot,
Okay.
actually. So this is a little unusual, I know, because I don't generally talk of these things, but hi, I'm Trey. I'm here at my exhibit at North Coast Gallery with my good friend Carrie, who I've known since I was 11.
At least.
Yeah, and she's in from New York, so you get to listen to me talk about my pieces today. So this piece is called The Wolf Prince, and the entire exhibit's Spindle's work Zellandine's museum, or Zellandine's denouement, I'm sorry. But the Wolf Prince is, and I don't know what you want me to tell you, but it's made of hand-spun, like East Frisian that's been applied with commercial lattice yarn and domestic wool with Keel Angelina, and has red plastic-coated electronics wire, because I'm weird that way, and some copper metal working. The idea behind this piece is that it references these types of princes that are starting to show up in visual culture, like non-traditional forms of princes, like Rory as the last centurion in Doctor Who, and I totally lose everything. Derek Hale is kind of an anti-prince in Teen Wolf. So we have a lot of those kind of references going on here. This is, it's kind of a 4-for-1 piece. It's called hyperparatext, and it's really a meme-based idea. We have, it's very semiotic oriented, but we have tentacle porn, steampunk, UNF, which is universal noise of fucking, and OMFG, which is oh my fucking god. But they work together as this kind of connection of popular meme culture into artwork. We have the mirror, which, hello, which anybody who's ever read Snow White, there's always the mirror. It's the ubiquitous mirror. But this is working on more of the body horror idea of it, kind of taking references from like the Diablo series, as well as the more recent Snow White and the Huntsman, with kind of the roofness that goes on with it, because it's very grotesque. And there are some like kind of far back references to the Diana Rigg live action Snow White.
Very cool.
This is Oyster Emotions, and these are gutted light bulbs that have been altered through spray paint, and then have loosely colored fiber stuffed into them to give that swirl of color. And it's really a reference to the sci-fi series Alice, where they suck the emotions out of humans because the people of Wonderland don't feel emotions that way anymore. So, yes.
It's a very good show.
It really is, yes. This is Scheherazade, and Scheherazade is, 1001 Arabian Nights, and it's kind of part word art and part reference to a mask, to the veils that women in the Middle East used to wear. Well, still wear, but not in quite the same way anymore. So I'm going to attach the poem to it when I post this, too. Oh, and knitting metal wire is kind of difficult and annoying. Then we have, it's called From Straw to Gold, and this is kind of this weirdly, deeply embedded reference, because these are cones that yarn come on that have been kind of tarted up with gold spray paint so they look like they are made of gold. Somebody has moved it in the wrong place. There. Somebody's been touching the pieces. Happens. My friends. This is the Herb Prince. And whereas the Wolf Prince is this reference to these new non-traditional forms of princes that are coming into play, this is a reference to the kind of uselessness of the old princes. In fairy tales, it's like we always have this prince, but he's always this kind of cardboard cutout stereotype, who really isn't there to do much of anything. He's not a character. We always think of the princess saving the princesses, and they do, but the princes are the main action. They have all the agency, even when it's being taken away from them. And the princes are just kind of tossed in. So we have the prints, and meaning basically a prototype. That's why it's kind of useless armor. And this is another one of my weird word art pieces called Before There Was Ariel. And once upon a time, before Disney had named the Little Mermaid Ariel, she didn't have a soul, and that was part of the reason why she was becoming human. So really with this piece, the language is very important with it. And it's a very kinetic piece. As people walk by it, it moves and it rustles and rasps. And so it's a very sensory included piece. It's also made from a Hello Pearl art bat. Because I love Hello Pearl. We're going to go that way? Oh, yeah, you can do that.
I'm assuming I'm a wet match.
Oh, yeah, go for it. And my German's going to suck here for a second. Schwalbenens, Flight into the Forest, which that was the German name for Snow White. So this is loosely spun domestic wool that's been painted and has been dyed and has metal wire integrated into it, copper wire. And it's really kind of that frenetic energy that her flight always feels like it has. We have Echo, which was honestly a Richard Tuttle moment gone very, very weird. Because what's really important with this are the shadows. In Greek mythology, Echo was a nymph who could only repeat back what other people said, hence an echo. And she was in love with, I forget who she was in love with, but she was in love with somebody else. Yeah, it was Narcissus, thank you. So this is really kind of that kind of conceptualization of Echo. This is Kore Persephone, which Kore Persephone, Queen of the Underworld. Very, very big, long, complicated thing if you get into the actual mythology behind it. And the cultural implications and the Minoans, and it's a thing. But this is my piece inspired by her, with the pomegranate seeds and the representations of Kore and Hecate and Demeter and Persephone. And it also has like huge chunk of metal that's been cold forged. This is Fairy Forest, which is, honey, you're gonna end up being close up, so just come over with
I just wanted to,
Okay. This is Fairy Forest, and it's almost like a Leighton reference, or Dirksea, or a Waterhouse reference with that illumination of the Fey realms. And it was fun to actually, crochet LED lights. Because sometimes it's just because it's cool.
Exactly.
The card is not part of the exhibit, it's just here. This is Grey Havens, especially since The Hobbit came out and the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out. It's a reference to where the elves set off to the west, east, west, okay. Because, I'm with it today. But yeah, it has that reference, the delineation of line, demarcating the horizon line, the kind of organic feel that all the elvish architecture has. Yeah. We have little unassuming Jorinda. Jorinda and Joringel is one of those really not very well known fairy tales, but in it, Jorinda gets turned into a bird. And in this instance, the bird is a paper bird. It's made out of handmade flax paper and has been embroidered on there. And Jorinda and Joringel is such a flat fairy tale that this seemed appropriate. We have Firstborn, which was actually one of the first pieces from this series. And it's very visceral and very grotesque and very exactly what it sounds like. We have, it just does not want to sit right today. We have Cthulhuid Treasure, which is very much a Lovecraftian reference, with the kind of eyelessness and the Cthulhuid being Cthulhu and kind of the minimization of it. And for some reason, my artwork keeps ending up with these kind of genital references that I'm not intending, but it's happening. So, yes. And I'm not even going to try and say this in Japanese. If my German sucks, my Japanese is way worse. But this is basically the rabbit of the moon. And in Japanese mythology, the moon goddess comes down and the animals are offering her up sacrifices, and the rabbit doesn't have anything to offer but himself, so he throws himself in the fire. And so hence the burned and the kind of childlike feel to it, because that kind of self-sacrifice is kind of a childlike characteristic. Yeah, and he's been integrated into a kind of lunar situation. Again, with the German is going to be problematic. Aschenputtel? The moss from, no, it's a moss from Illyria's tree. And Illyria was kind of this Cinderella-ish sort of figure. But during the course of the fairy tale, she lives in a hollow tree for part of it. So, we're going to review that way for a second. This is Artemis of Ephesus, which most of us are familiar with. Artemis as this very virginal, I run and jump and hunt through the woods and turn Actaeon into a stag, and she's very Alice in Argent. But if the further you get into Asia Minor, she becomes a fertility goddess, to the point where there's a statue of Artemis of Ephesus that has its fruit or bull testicles, or I don't know what they are, and nobody can decide, but it's fertility and fruitfulness, and yeah. So, there you go. This is, you're going to have to come over here, sweetie. Mm-hmm. This is ambulatory mushroom, which, as I told you, primeval. It's really a reference to the TV show Primeval, where they had that sentient fungoid who came in and took over everything. But in this instance, it's became static enough where it became infested by other things, like there's a nest involved in it. This is Imperatrix, which Imperatrix is one of the Virgin Mary's names, where she is Queen of Heaven, Queen of the Moon, Queen of the Earth. So we have all those references going on here at once. And it's 22 gauge stainless steel wire. Don't do it, just don't. And hand-cast cotton paper. And again, a Hello Pearl art bat that's been applied with commercial acrylic because you need to extend your yarn somehow. And then we have the piece that was the name for the entire series, Zellandine. Once upon a time, before Sleeping Beauty was Sleeping Beauty, and before she was Briar Rose, she was Zellandine. And Zellandine, we think of the prince waking her up with a kiss, not in the original story. Think Grimm's Grimmest and go further into the Grimm's Grimmest to, perpetual rape. And yes, again, it's another one of these word art pieces that the words are more important to the piece, and so is the kinetics of it. And that is my exhibit. So yes, please watch, please like, please subscribe, please, talk about it, and I guess complain if you want to. Have a good day.